webinar, Quick Wins in User Engagement, How Stories Accelerate Mobile App Growth. If any questions come to your mind in the meantime, enter them in the chat. We should have some time left to answer them. Otherwise, you will receive answers in the form of a follow-up. And the webinar was jointly organized by FutureMind and Storyly. My name is Adam Rakowski. I'm a partner relationship manager at FutureMind, and I'm responsible for connecting our customers with partner companies, which accelerate our projects thanks to market-leading turnkey solutions. And one of such partner companies is Storyly. Storyly provides a user engagement solution trusted by over 300 brands and enables us to embed mobile native stories in mobile apps and websites. And stories which create an additional channel to deliver any marketing content, communicate with users, and help marketers build relationships with their audience. And FutureMind, which I represent, is a digital advisory and delivery company. We engineer digital business starting from idea validation, UX research, through architecture, design, and development. We also provide post-development services, helping to define new features based on the market situation. And as a member of the solutions department at FutureMind, my responsibility is to advise on the selection of suitable technology, which, according to our knowledge and experience, can increase the chances of success and accelerate development. And some of the most exciting examples of such activities include cooperation with leading retail companies in CE, Żabka and Superfarm, with whom we have jointly developed mobile applications and enhanced them with Storyly. And at today's webinar, we will share the experience acquired during this process together with the managers of Żabka, Superfarm, and Storyly, and noting that this journey has just begun. So I encourage you to follow its progress in the future. Let's start with a few words about our speakers, Barbara Kucharczyk, Irem Isik, and Maciej Maćkowiak. So Basia, would you start?
Basia, you're on mute. Actually, we cannot hear you.
Okay, so maybe let's start with Maciej, because we can't hear you, Basia. Probably it's something with your microphone.
Okay, testing. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my name's Maciej. I'm a product manager at Superfarm, and I actually joined the company the moment it decided to put more strategic pressure on digital as a whole. It was named one of the pillars of growth for the company. And I've been building digital bricks at Superfarm since 2020, January, so it's almost 3 years now. I launched a new website. I built the app together with FutureMind, and in general, I'm responsible for the product, digital products in the product team. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I'm Basia Kucharczyk. I'm a Digital Innovation Manager at Żabka Polska, and together with FutureMind, I'm working on our app, on UX, UI, and some new features that you can see in our app.
And last but not least, Irem.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Irem from Storyly. I'm the head of marketing at Storyly, but before that, I was actually the director of operations. So I'm kind of a Storyly geek. I've been here since the beginning. And I'm also a former marketeer. So I worked in FMCG companies for Nestle and Unilever for about 6 years for big brands. And I can say that I'm very excited with the new technology that makes brands have different ways of communication, next generation communication with their users. So that's really what excites me about Storyly. You will introduce Storyly, Adam, so I'm not going to spare more time, but I have to say that I'm really excited to be here today with Maciej and Basia, because they are the ones who are creating miracles with Storyly and hearing the quick wins from their own words about how they create these with Storyly.
Okay, thank you. So the title of our webinar is Quick Wins in User Engagement. And let's maybe start with defining what a quick win is. Imagine that we have a magic wand that will help us instantly improve one KPI, but just one. And which user engagement metric would you choose and why? Maybe starting with Mati.
Okay. So if I had a magic wand, then I guess the one that I would be enhancing, immediately is the monthly active users, which is, to me, I compare it to traffic. I mean, if you think in terms of website and you compare it to your application, and more or less, the traffic that it can generate. And since e-commerce can be translated into something very simple as traffic, average order value, and conversion, then if I can take care of one of those variables, then, well, which is brilliant for me. So yeah, that's the starting point. Looking at my customers, looking at their purchasing behavior and so on. So that, and if you're talking about quick wins, how I would define it, well, minimum effort, maximum results. That's I guess the simplest definition that you can come up with. Basia?
Yeah, so starting with engagement metrics, I would choose monthly active users because, of course, it means more potentially more among monthly active shoppers, and that means, of course, more money to your company. And if we are talking about quick wins, for me, it's about quick implementations and low budget comparing to profits that you can have because of the new solution. And perfectly, the implementation is maximum 3 months, and you've got immediate benefits.
And let's maybe continue with Iram, who doesn't necessarily focus on the metrics of a single app, but overviews the whole app industry about user engagement metrics. And so, what is the area that your customers are looking to improve? What is the burning pain points of mobile apps at the moment? Do you see any commonalities across verticals?
Sure, Adam. I mean, let me try to maybe summarize what I have experienced so far, especially from the lens when I had the chance to speak with numerous, like hundreds of marketers or product managers when I was actually at the operations side on the customer side. This gave me the unique privilege of speaking with a lot of people. So I would probably first say in terms of pain points, common pain points would be like the consideration span. So we all know the analogy of the human attention span being shorter than a goldfish being 8 seconds. I think it's a bit too simplistic to put it, but I mean, we all know we are capable of binge watching an episode after the other. So we all have the attention span if we want to, but the key here is the want part, I guess. So we are very picky. So we choose to pay attention or not. And from the day we wake up, we are bombarded with messages and we choose which one that we would disregard, like push notifications, messages, emails, and which ones we would pay attention to. And this is actually a battle that all mobile app across verticals, regardless of their vertical, is fighting against, getting that attention in the first place. Once you have it, you can be more relaxed because it means that person is now voluntarily paying attention to what you're saying. I think the second one is about, since we're talking about mobile, is the size of the device that we are operating in. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a shopping app or a fitness app or a fintech app. So the message that you're trying to deliver is just limited in between the screen as like 5 to 7 inches. So, within that part, you also have like more fragmented elements like cards, carousels, or banners. So with those short and small images, you're trying to convey a message. So these can be two, I would say, universal pain points that we are seeing. What else? I mean, everyone is looking for personalized experiences. There is no one single message today that would attract everyone that you're trying to appeal to. This means that you need to deep dive into your data, find unique expectations, and try to address them correctly. So there is a obvious need of customization and a pain point of being able to personalize in a smart way. Of course, I mean, retention, another thing. So we know that 25% of mobile apps are being abandoned after being opened only once. And after 30 days, 97% of users on average leave your app without ever coming back. So these are huge percentages of loss. So this is also another pain point that comes very oftenly across verticals. Of course, as Basha and Maciej also mentioned, the number of monthly active users is also very important. So all of that, of course, when it comes to overcoming these challenges and checking the KPIs, this time we see differences in verticals in terms of how they measure the success afterwards, overcoming these challenges. Like, for instance, for an e-book platform, an audiobook platform, it could be session time. For e-commerce, as much as mentioned, it could be average order value, it could be conversion rates, or, I mean, for a health and fitness app, it could be the pages that they have circulated in between throughout the app. So, of course, I mean, this can change vertical to vertical, but I guess the ones I mentioned could be counted as universal, at least from the experience that we have so far.
Oh, thank you for your answer. And let's maybe move on to the second part derived from the title of our meeting, which is user engagement. And in simple words, it would be the frequency, the time a user engages with your application represents the action the user takes after experiencing or interacting with the website, product, application. So let's take one step back and tell me, how does your user engagement help mobile apps accelerate growth, and where does this concept sit in growth journeys, Basia?
Yeah, so engagement of users is always a bigger chance they can see your promos, your content without any money you have to spend. They can recommend your app to their friends, and they can share your content. So actually, it's about spending less. And of course, you can also exclude the group that has seen your content in app when you're creating a campaign. So for me, it's it's like a big chance to optimize your campaigns.
Maciej, do you agree with Basia? How does it look like at Superfarm?
Well, for us, it's a foundation, basically. I mean, if I don't have a product, well, okay, we have a website, that's a different story. And we, sell through the website as well. But if I don't have someone in the little device that I mean, I cannot do anything. Well, we can build whatever we want within the product. We can, have the best conversion, journeys and what have you. But if I don't have them inside, then, my ways of reaching the customer are very limited. Obviously, we implemented deep links. So if we, if we know that the user has our app and they just click on a random link, browsing through the web, I'll get him back. But I mean, that may happen, may not happen, you never know. So the moment, I actually have them, I need some ways to, show what I want to show in a very engaging way. So, that's a different level of engagement. So I don't, I have to have users actually look at the things that I want them to look. And this is, where Storyly comes into play. Because with a very simple integration, you can actually deliver them then a lot of ideas that you can come up with. So whether that's, movies, stories, products, this type of creation, another type of creation, polls, whatever you want to do to keep your users somehow engaged, you can do it with one integration. So you don't have to, kind of come back to your development team over and over again.
And Irem, from your side?
Sure. Again, maybe from a more generalistic point of view, I just want to take a step back. Like, when we talk about growth, the first thing that comes to mind is always acquisition part. But I think it's meaningless if you cannot keep your users in the app, if they abandon, if they churn. I mean, it will be a total waste of investment, both from a monetary perspective and also from a human effort perspective. And we know that it's getting even more and more difficult to find those relevant users with like iOS 14.5 updates. So Now it takes a lot more effort to find the right people who would really enjoy the app. That's why we need to look beyond user acquisition, and everything I think what Maciej and also Basha said really corresponds to that. So user engagement and retention can help you attract new users. As Basha said, for instance, like they can recommend it to their audience, like create the word of mouth when they actually know what they can enjoy within the app and share exactly that experience with their colleagues, with their workout buddies, with their families. And then the people that comes to your app from those would be golden because they are coming by knowing what you actually have to offer. So everything that also Maciej says makes me feel like you can show the actual value with these assets that we talked about on Story side, for instance. So now the user is engaged and knows what value it can create out of that app, out of that platform. And now that person, engaged user, can actually recommend it to others. And again, this will also create a cycle of growth for you. So that's exactly why you need to take good care of your user engagement and retention strategy to turn your customers into your advocates.
You've mentioned a lot of values, but what are the biggest challenges in delivering a more engaging experience in mobile apps?
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay. So in our case, in our digital and marketing team, the biggest challenge is that we've got plenty of great ideas, but many of them are just hard to deliver and they have to die. That's why I think sometimes it's better to choose solutions that are ready to use, and Story is one of them. For example, because of Story, thanks to Story, we could show videos in the new way, which is more familiar to our users. And another thing, it's like more business perspective, that for the apps like Żabka app, it's really difficult to become something more than just a loyalty program. So you have to have something interesting, something surprising, to give people, to have people's attention, and in this way they probably will want to come back and see what's new in your app.
So it helped you to cope with this challenge. And how about Superfarm in this case?
Well,
talking
I
about
wouldn't say
challenges.
I wouldn't say it's only about Superfarm. I guess that's maybe bigger challenge that the retail or e-commerce space is facing as a whole, is that we have to know who we're competing against. I mean, we like to think that we're competing against other retailers, other e-commerce. That is not true. I'm competing against TikTok. I'm competing against Instagram. This is my competition in reality, because this is where user attention is going. User attention doesn't have industry boundaries, and I'm competing, for a limited space of hours a day. Now, if you move it, to the application world, now a lot of applications, a lot of websites, I mean, even though they try to optimize conversion paths and blah, what have you, they still feel a bit old. I mean, by old, I mean, look at how we're communicating right now between each other. It's look at TikTok, look at Instagram, look at small videos. This is how people consume their content. They don't want to read the content anymore. I mean, the kind of text content is great for Google SEO, but for user, that's not a way to go forward. So now I have this cool content on TikTok and Instagram, and my favorite influencer tells me about this great product, and then I go to a app and it's a basic, boring, static page. Now, I mean, sorry, we have to catch up, because otherwise, I mean, just the difference in experience is going to be huge, and we won't be able to engage with the users within our products if the difference is so big. So that's why we have to find other ways to talk about, well, in our case, products, obviously, than a static text, because, well, it's not the way people communicate anymore.
Yeah, totally agree. And so now that we know how significant user engagement is for mobile growth and what kind of challenges apps face while they're trying to increase user engagement metrics, let's maybe dive into the solution part and starting from onboarding. Because, well, they say that the first impression lasts forever, and any user's first impression with the app has a crucial influence on the next steps in the journey. And Maciej, what kind of quick wins can you imagine when it comes to onboarding? What are the must-done improvements here?
Well, I don't know if it's quick wins, but just, the fact that we're talking about Storyly, so, I will, sugarcoat them a bit. You enter the app and you kind of have them on a top in an experience that is similar to other applications that people are familiar with. So that's a potential quick win if we're talking about, Storyly. But to me, what is, important, maybe it's not always, quick win, but just think about how much power you're giving to the user over your digital products. And I've seen a lot of cases where the marketing team knows better, where the product manager knows better, where someone else in the organization think they know better what the user want. And there's, for example, 5-step onboarding program, check this, see that, and so on. Then there are explanations, how to use the product. God damn it. I mean, if you need explaining how to use your product, then the product is poorly designed. I mean, sorry. Just think about if your product is simple enough, if the user has control over your product, you can match the needs of the marketing team, of the product team, of the commercial team in a more seamless way. You can actually do it. I mean, it's not a contrary, it's not a fight, user versus business goals. It's always comes together. Just find ways to deliver them. So to me, look whether the app has very approachable interface, if it's simple enough, if it's clear enough, if the navigation is well defined. If you need customer data, and us approaching post-cookie world, we need customer data. Check if the login or registration is simple enough. So, and in many cases, don't try to control user too much. Just give them the freedom to navigate, to explore, to check, to see. That's kind of to me one of the key elements that you should really focus on at the very beginning.
Yeah, that's true. And at FutureMind, we have been the consultants to numerous companies when they want to go digital or when they want to improve their mobile services solutions. And well, we have observed that customer experience design directly affects how users interact with any mobile apps. And so, Maciej, Barbara, what are the most important CX elements for Superfarm and Żabka apps? What do your users expect from you, and how do you deliver these expectations?
Okay, so I will start maybe. So I would start with a phrase that you have to understand who you are as a brand, as and as an app, and you have to understand your users and how they see you. So for me, good customer experience usually means loyal clients or users for us. And in our case, the thing that they expect the most is focused on our loyalty points called Żabsy. And that's why we have to focus on their needs and make some new solutions connected to those Żabsy. So that's why we are all the time exploring this topic. We are asking them what would they like to have in our rewards catalog, and we are adding new products there. And of course, we know our users would like to see a search engine where can find specific coupons, but right now we are in the process of redesign of our app, and hopefully one day you will see the search engine. And in the meanwhile, because of those needs, we decided to use Story in a way that we present new coupons to the specific groups, and they can just swipe up and see what new can they get for our loyalty points. And our users also like to participate in our quests. So that's why from yesterday we've got new type of quests with stages. And as with every other feature, we are observing how our users behave. Do they like this new feature? So yeah, I think that's it. It's always about users and what do they want from you.
And what is it about from your perspective, Maciej?
Well, I definitely agree with, listen to your users. That always helps. We actually, when we launched the app, it was all, a question for us, what goes into MVP, what doesn't? And we kind of drew the line at some point and we said, okay, that's a launch. We tested, everything went fine. And we launched it with one feature that we were unsure of. It is the feature of, our kind of like newspaper, promo newspaper, which is, present at all the physical locations. We say, okay, the development of that will probably take about a month. So guys, let's just launch without that and, we'll add it afterwards. Well, we should have had it at the very beginning because we were, almost crucified in comments. Hey, where's the newspaper? So, yeah, that was one element that we kind of weren't sure, but we should have really listened, to the comments about how important that is. And now looking, what's the really important elements for us, and that's something that is kind of coming with different ways. I mean, we are well known for our expertise. So if you're going to Super Farm, you can really, really count on advice, not only getting a product, but we can really help you with choosing the product. Now, for us, it's a huge challenge how to translate this physical experience into a digital experience, because we know we're talking about health, we're talking about the beauty, we're talking about well-being. Not everything transfers perfectly to the digital world, because we as human beings, we have some sort of barrier on a trust level. I mean, simply some channels aren't great at passing certain trust level. I mean, there are reasons why, people talk about their private finance usually on a one-to-one meeting with a banker. Okay, that's kind of, the more trust we have in technology, the more it kind of moves to other channels, but there are still certain elements. And if you're talking about, I don't know, skin sensitivity and things like that, yeah, we have on our roadmap experimenting, with some sort of video or chat advice, but we can see this kind of barrier here. And what is also very important is loyalty. So, what Basia started from, we know how strong and how powerful our loyalty program is. And we know that members of the loyalty club, they have their expectations as to, prices, promotions, and so on. So for us, app being like kind of the central point for the entire Super Farm, we know that we have to combine, different needs, but with a very, very strong focus on the loyalty. What's that gonna, be in the end? We'll see, because, there are, different ideas, but we know that has to be one of the building blocks.
And Maciej, having in mind that the challenges you mentioned, you addressed that you need to compete against big guys who are not necessarily direct competitors. And well, Irem, similarly, you referred to consideration span, the attention economy. So it is essential to design fun experiences to multiply the opportunities of engagement, opportunities for interaction. And what kinds of tactics do you use for that aim, and how important is flexibility when you go for engaging experiences in a short while, Maciej?
Well, the flexibility is key, I guess. So, you know, what Basia mentioned earlier, and, you know, again, 100% agree on that, is, you know, the faster you can actually test something, the better. I mean, you can have great ideas for brilliant promotions, brilliant engagement tactics, but if implementing that takes you 6 months, then it's not great. I mean, it has never been great from the start. So, you know, always see what's already there, and something which is really, really difficult, but try to think what you're trying to get, not how you're trying to do it. So try to think about, you know, what sort of aim you have, because, you know, ideas, solutions, you know, everyone have those, but the question is what we're trying to achieve, because maybe there's a different way that we can achieve that. Maybe if we, you know, modify the promotion a bit, modify the communication a bit, you know, look what's on our hands, because, you know, just that always, you know, comes from, you know, very often that we in companies have many tools. I guess, you know, Basia being part of even, you know, bigger company than I am, they have so many tools on their hands that I can use, so many ways to interact with their users in different channels. Now, the question is, how many of these tools we're actually using to our, you know, to its fullest potential? That's always a question. You know, everybody wants to always get, you know, I want this, implement this, implement that. Think if you're really using, I don't know, let's say half of, you know, what the tool is offering for you. I bet, and that's going to be a very mean bet here, I bet 80% of tools are underused. Seriously. Because, you know, people are not trying to experiment enough with what's already on their hands. And you know, Storyly, again, that's a cool tool for experimentation. Just, you know, be bold with it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Really, I mean, you have the tools in your hand. Just play with it and see what happens. You know, we've seen cases in the Polish market when, you know, big bank sent push notification that was supposed to go to test, but it went to production, a couple of million people. They actually turned it around in like 12 hours into a brilliant marketing campaign. So really, just, you know, be bold and experiment.
Yeah, so in this case, well, maybe let's look for some examples from other customers' ERMs. Let's get back to you one more time for a broader observation from the industry. Can you share some examples, some experience?
Sure. I mean, just when I was listening to Maciej and Basia, a lot of things came to my mind as examples from our clients. But one thing I heard and I want to emphasize, I think, is the fact that sometimes the simplest idea, the easiest one, is the best that you have in your hand, and you can just give it a try. And that's what I love at Storyly also, and that's what I love seeing in the clients of Storyly. We get really inspired by the way, from very easy, very practical implementations, how great results that our clients and customers are generating. And I agree with Maciej, there are different ways to achieve a goal. For instance, let's say, for instance, for a marketplace, an e-commerce platform, they want to increase their coupon use rates as well as increase their app stickiness rates. So I assume that they have tons of tools that they can use to make this happen, right? But a great example comes to my mind with a gamification hint in it that comes from a client of ours from Marketplace. What they did was very easy to comprehend. So they didn't even do any personalization, anything at all. They just used stories and they did this. So they revealed a letter of a coupon of 5 digits every day at a certain hour for 5 consecutive days, which made, obviously, their users to come back to the app every day at a certain time to collect those letters, which obviously make them create a habit out of it, and also not just look at that story, but also go through other pages, discover new things, or at least get even more familiar with the app environment and creating a habit, as I said. And eventually at the 5th date, they get this coupon and they were able to use it. So, I mean, as I say, it's very simple. It's very easy to implement. It didn't take probably 5 minutes of a content manager or a category manager to come to Storyly dashboard and create that story and make it happen. But it created tremendous impact when it comes to their app stickiness matrix, like daily active user to monthly active user, as well as the time spent in app. And of course, it reflected to it in a long period of time, because the users then started to expect things like this to come up as they proceed. And of course, they created variations of these. But I mean, as I say, there are lots of quick wins that you can generate very flexibly, and it doesn't always have to be complex. It can be just, very simple ideas, very easy executions that you can take live, as long as you have that mindset and you have that flexibility in the tool set that you have.
Yeah, Ira mentioned about gamification, but let's move on to other buzzwords, personalization, because it has been a buzzword for some time for sure, and we are all aware of the fact that one size doesn't fit all anymore. But the question is whether personalization can be a quick win. Basia, do you have any tactics that you can implement fast and see the result fast when it comes to personalization?
Yeah, so I would say personalization can be a quick win if you combine it with a certain feature. It can be, for example, something in Storyly, but it can be Quest or any other thing. So in this way, you can do what Maciek mentioned before. So you can experiment. You can see what the specific group likes and what they don't like. And I think if we are talking about quick wins, then I would mention one specific feature based in Storyly, which is creating audience based on answers in a specific story. I think it works perfectly for brands like ours, because you don't have to spam people with the content they don't want, but just target the content perfectly. So right now we are testing that specific feature, and yeah, I think it's great.
And Iram, anything from your experience about personalization? Can you elaborate on?
Sure. Personalization is a two-way sword, right? It's a buzzword, as you say, Adam. And on one hand, you see like a McKinsey research, for instance, tells us that 71% of users, they say they would abandon your services if it's not personalized for them. On the other hand, there is another Salesforce research saying that more than 70% of users are saying they would abandon your services if they feel like their data is being overused. So it's a sensitive topic for sure, and it seems like a paradox. And we are talking about quick wins here, and we also keep hearing these concepts of third-party data, first-party data. But I think what Basia also said about interactives and getting this input from users just brings us to this zero-party data concept, which is basically different than first-party data, which means like this information that we get from the interactive stickers that we provide, for instance, is something that the people provide us willingly and knowingly. They answer the question that we ask in that poll, in that quiz, in that emoji reaction or open-ended question sticker themselves. So it's not being forced to them. So they are actually providing that data. Whereas when it comes to first party, it's behavioral. So I think, like, for instance, first-party data has its limits. Like, have you recently bought a vacuum cleaner? Let me recommend you tons of other vacuum cleaners, but obviously you just need one vacuum cleaner. So I don't want to see those. I mean, it's an exaggeration, obviously, but when it comes to zero-party data, I mean, I think the quick wins or the input that you can get is limitless. So you can ask anything, like what their favorite color is, what's the favorite product, what was their latest purchase, whether they enjoyed it, everything that you can think of. And then, as Basia said, you can just, reorganize, reshape your strategy against them, for them, with that input that's coming from them. And I guess this also would be something that they would be willingly accept as a good personalized experience, because it would be based on what they said in the first place. And I think this also fits very well with what Matthias said in terms of empowering the users, because now the user decides on their own personalized journey voluntarily by providing that answer.
Yeah, because so we've discussed some tactics now to achieve this quick wins in onboarding, personalization, and then customer experience design. And well, for sure, we're going through processes that require us to more and more agile every day. And on the other hand, for sustainable growth, we also have to pursue some long-term strategies with consistency and persistence. And how do you position these quick wins and long-term strategies in response to each other? Is it possible to do both? What is your approach here, Maciej?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Well, again, it's it may look like it's either or, either quick wins or long term. No, exactly. On the opposite again. So if you know where you're going, if you have kind of the direction that you want to go, then see whether certain quick wins fall into that direction. That's kind of quite obvious. For us, we want to create. Make the app as sort of a virtual consultant, the consultant that can advise you, the consultant that can sell you something. So we're, something that we're associated with in, let's say, physical world. We try to somehow recreate it. And, for the quick wins, oh my God, you can do so many things, on the way, asking about, common, for example, problems, or how do you approach the sunscreens, whether this sunscreen is better, this sunscreen is better. I mean, it's all about knowing your user and serving them content with something that you already have. So quick question about let's say sunscreen types, because you can have those chemical and mineral and so on. Then you get the information from the users directly, and then you can come back to to them with either more information about certain types of sunscreens, or you can come back to them with a certain type of product. Is it building the long-term vision of being the virtual dermo consultant? Yes. Is it a quick win? Yes. So just have a look like that, because if your quick wins, it's like we need to do something. Let's do this, and then you kind of do this, and then you what's the next we should do? So have this kind of beacon. Think where you're going. Be open to your opportunities that you can see them. Don't be too rigid on where you're going. That is also very, very important. So like the world is so disruptive all the time. You just have to keep the flexibility out there. So it's, to me, one company, one kind of companies both, and it should company.
Yeah, and Irem, do you agree with this point of view?
I fully agree. I mean, I was going to say something similar, so I'm not going to keep too much time, but I would say it's all about consistency and reiteration, I guess, as you go. So as long as your quick wins are consistent with where you want to go, in terms of your strategy, in terms of your brand identity, in terms of what your users are asking from you, and it's not clashing against, it shouldn't be either or, it should be both and it should be a synergy that would create 2 + 2 = 5. So you don't have to be rigid. Again, as Maciej said, with your long-term strategy, your quick win strategies can also feed into your long-term strategy and make you reiterate that also. But as I say, it's all about keeping it consistent with one another.
Yeah, totally agree. And well, we're slowly getting closer to the end of our discussion. But well, let's return once again to the main topic, because it is not always possible to achieve quick wins in-house. And sometimes product and marketing teams of mobile apps utilize some tech vendors, tools, some third-party solutions. And tell me, please, what are the most important factors for you while you're making a decision about working with solution providers or implementing technologies? Basia, would you answer?
Okay, so the first and most important thing is how fast you can implement a certain solution, and of course the price is also important. However, I think you have to trust your provider, and it's good if you can ask any other company if they previously have worked with the provider. And I really like to get some inspirations, analysis, pro tips from providers, because in this way we as an app we can be better and better, and it happens without an extra effort. So actually, if for example Story has some new functions like animations around those circles that seems to be a part of Instagram, or any other things, then we can just use it and in this way be more interesting. So yeah, so I would summarize this as trust and inspirations, and it has to be quick.
Maciej, do you want to add something from your side?
Well, I'm very much values driven. So there are certain values that I have to see in potential cooperation. Things like whether there's trust, where there's good open communication, whether potential partner tells you what they're not great at. For me, it's kind of like a testing point, really. I mean, ask your partner what they cannot do and see if they are open to to basically answer. Because for me, it's not a sign of weakness. For me, it's a sign of knowing your value. So, a potential partner, it doesn't apply only, to the vendor, to the, technology provider. To me, that applies, basically to cooperation. If your potential, third party can honestly say what they're great at and what they're not great at, means they know themselves. And that means that you'll have, very good cooperation with them. Because if they try to promise you almost everything, just be sure you're gonna hit a landmine here, because there are things they don't know, or there are things they cannot do, and they'll still pretend they do, and it's a cooperation deemed to fail sooner or later.
Yeah, beautifully said, and I think that it's a nice takeaway for all of us. And since we have a few more minutes and few questions in the chat, so there is a question for you, Maciej. Would you like to answer one more? Because I could said that it's a wonderful aspect.
Yeah, I've seen the question. Yeah, so for everyone and people who don't read the chat, so I'll read it. It's a wonderful aspect. I meant that competition with TikTok or Instagram. You said that you have similar capability in your app as well. Did you ever think about starting the experience in social and move it to your app, like showing 2 stories in Instagram, and in the third one you say something like continue to discover in our app? It's a great idea. We haven't tested that. So, thank you. Why we haven't? Because, we're pretty new to Storyly. I mean, we've had it in our application for a little over a month, I guess, not even maybe that. So we're still learning the tool. I mean, then I can also see that, the utilization of SAS is 20%. I guess for us, it's not even 5% yet. So we're, still learning the tool.
Yeah, I would add one thing, because we actually tested it. Like we made some competition that was partly in Instagram, partly in like different social media, but also in the app, and it worked really well. Our users had a lot of fun searching for our merch in different places.
Yeah, I can also see there's a question about whether, delivering classic content, in this case, Gazetka or the newspaper, using stories, and, that companies struggle on how to deliver something people use a lot in print, using, digital. And there's a question, does it work in our case? Well, I guess, the statistics answer that. I mean, 20% of users actually browse through our newspaper within the application. So that that's a clear indication that at the launch we were wrong, the users were right. We should have had it, straight away, because it's a feature that they utilize a lot. Um, you know, Plus, mixing this kind of worlds and content. I'll give you, one example about, for example, quick win, flexibility, some of the things that we mentioned. Well. One of the type of promotion that is pretty common in Poland is this advent calendar, and companies basically launch it from November. Every single day there's a new promo or something like that. You can discover something new. So obviously we have a website that is about that was custom built, and you have all the details of promotion and so on. And then it's something it's not a huge conversion in terms of, let's say, online world. It's a huge traffic driver for our offline stores. And we were thinking, how the hell do we recreate that in the app? I mean, it's a custom built page, for the website. And then, well, luckily, we just introduced Thorly. So what is a new product every day on a page on a website is actually a new story every day in the application. So we took the tools that are on our hands. We thought about what's the aim of the let's say of this marketing campaign is, which is to deliver the product of the day to the user. And using the tools that we have, we were able to actually get to the goal. So no custom building, no 3-month ramp up and so on. So again, look what you have and what you're trying to achieve, and I'm pretty sure you'll find a way to do it without some heavy lifting.
Thank you, Maciej. And Basia, there is one for you. Can you see it?
Yeah, I could see. So it's a question, why do we have that many formats and stories? So the answer is yes, we are testing different formats, and actually we are checking what is performing in the best way. So we are checking how many % of interactions do we have if we put swipe up on specific story. So yeah, I would say, for example, we put it. We put a recap of all our quests in story, and it's because not every person can find quests in our feed, and it seems to be weird, but sometimes you've got this like digital blindness that you are just seeing different promos, and even though you have seen that, you didn't realize it's something for you. So that's why we divided categories and put them in story, and we are just checking what's working the best way. And I can say it's like our impression. It's the same as for the whole app. So the best stories are about loyalty points or drops and new rewards.
Okay, thank you, Basia. And so since that, this were really all topics to cover today. And we also encourage you to download the Żabka and Superfarm applications and see how the implemented stories work. And I would like to thank the speakers for sharing their insightful experience, and the attendees for your time and attention. If you would like to learn more about the product, our project, the preparation process, do not hesitate to contact us. And yeah, I share the contact info, and And thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
Thank you, Basia. Thank you, Iram. I mean, it was fun, most of all, for me. So
Same here, definitely.
wish you all the best, guys.
It was nice to meet you and hear how do you see the same reality from different perspectives.
Yes, definitely.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.